A tired farmer rose before dawn, the cold biting at his hands. He carried baskets of fresh vegetables, hoping to sell them in the busy city. No one seemed to notice him, no one seemed to care. But one ordinary day turned into something extraordinary. What happened next would change the life of a family forever. Ramesh, a humble farmer, lived in a small village on the outskirts of the city. His days began long before the sun peeked over the hills, filled with hard labor and the quiet hope of selling his crops. His family depended on him, his aging parents, his little daughter, and the small, crooked house that barely kept out the wind. Despite the hardships, Ramesh loved his work. The soil, the smell of fresh earth, the vibrant colors of ripe vegetables. These were the simple joys of his life. Every week, Ramesh would load his old, wooden cart with bundles of carrots, tomatoes, and spinach. The journey to the city was long, the roads uneven, and the city itself intimidating. He had little money for transport, so he walked, the baskets balanced carefully, fearing that a single misstep could crush the vegetables he worked so hard to grow. Ramesh knew that selling his produce wasn't just about earning money. It was about keeping his family fed, keeping his daughter in school, and ensuring his parents could see the world outside their small home, even if only in glimpses. Yet, every trip was filled with uncertainty. The city market was crowded, filled with loud vendors and impatient buyers. People rushed past him, hardly noticing the humble farmer with his humble vegetables. Still, Ramesh held on to hope. He believed that kindness existed somewhere in the hustle of the city, that someone would look at his fresh vegetables and see the effort, the love, the life behind them. He imagined the smiles of customers when they tasted the vegetables he grew, the laughter of children enjoying a fresh carrot, the warmth of a family eating together because of his labor. On this particular morning, Ramesh felt the weight of worry heavier than ever. His daughter had been sick the previous week, and medicine had drained the little money he had. His parents' health was declining, and he feared they might need care he couldn't afford. Yet, despite all this, he tightened the straps on his cart, took a deep breath, and stepped onto the dusty road toward the city. The sun had barely risen, casting a golden light over his small village, as if encouraging him to keep going. With each step, he whispered a silent prayer, not for himself, but for the people he loved most. He didn't know that this trip would not only help him earn a living but would also bring hope to a family he had never met, a family whose lives were about to be changed forever. By the time Ramesh reached the city market, the sun had risen high, and the streets were crowded with buyers, sellers, and the clamor of vehicles. He set up his small stall, arranging the vegetables as neatly as he could. His hands trembled from exhaustion, but he forced a smile, hoping someone would notice the freshness of his produce. Hours passed. People walked past without looking, some bumping into him without apology. Vendors shouted over each other, their voices harsh and impatient. Ramesh's heart sank a little more with every ignored plea. He offered samples of his carrots and tomatoes, but the city seemed indifferent. A wealthy man sneered at his display, muttering about poor-quality vegetables. Children tugged at their parents' hands, leaving without so much as a glance. Ramesh felt invisible, like a shadow among the bustling crowd. He sat on the edge of the cart, his back aching, his hands stained with soil and sweat. Doubts crept into his mind. Was he wasting his time? Was all his labor for nothing? His daughter's sickly smile flashed in his mind, and his chest tightened. He needed to sell something today, not for pride, but for survival. Just as hopelessness began to swallow him, he noticed a small commotion in the alley nearby. A family, a mother, father, and 2 young children, was struggling to carry groceries and a heavy bag of rice. The mother stumbled, and the bag tore, scattering grains across the street. Cars honked and people hurried past without offering help. The children began to cry. Ramesh's heart clenched. He wanted to rush to them to help, but his own baskets were heavy, his own strength waning. He hesitated, afraid of losing the little produce he had. The family looked up, their faces filled with despair. yet still holding on to hope that someone would notice them. In that moment, Ramesh realized that the city's indifference wasn't unique. It was a reflection of people lost in their own worries, just like him. But he also understood that even a single act of care could ripple into something bigger. The conflict was no longer just his own struggle to sell vegetables. It was the silent battle between despair and compassion that played out on the streets every day. Without a second thought, Ramesh dropped his baskets and ran toward the family. He lifted the torn bag of rice, scooped up the spilled grains, and handed it back to the mother. The children clung to him, their tears turning into shy smiles. The father, overwhelmed with gratitude, couldn't speak at first. You helped us?" the mother whispered, her voice trembling. Ramesh simply nodded. "It's okay. Let me help." Seeing the family struggle reminded him of his own daughter, his own parents, the fragile moments that made life precious. He helped them carry the groceries to a nearby shelter, arranging the rice, vegetables, and bread with care. As he did, he noticed the mother reaching for a carrot from his cart and tasting it hesitantly. Her eyes widened, and she smiled, the kind of pure, unguarded smile that healed weary hearts. Word spread quickly through the neighborhood. People began approaching Ramesh not to criticize, but to buy his vegetables. They watched as he helped the struggling family and felt inspired. One by one, customers appeared, filling his cart with coins, offering kind words, and thanking him for his generosity. By the end of the day, Ramesh's baskets were nearly empty, but his heart was full. The family he had helped invited him to share a simple meal with them. They laughed, shared stories, and for a brief moment, the city felt warm instead of cold, full of connection instead of indifference. Ramesh realized that kindness had a power far greater than money or recognition. His small act, lifting a bag of rice, offering a carrot, had saved a family from despair. And in return, he found a new hope for himself and his own family. As he walked home that evening, the sun dipping behind the city skyline, Ramesh felt lighter than he had in years. He had come to the city hoping to sell vegetables, but he was leaving with something far more valuable. The understanding that even in a world full of indifference, one kind heart could change everything. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness create the biggest miracles. Ramesh went to sell vegetables, but he ended up saving a family and himself. Kindness doesn't cost a thing, yet its value is priceless. Even when the world seems indifferent, one heart can make all the difference. Remember, helping others may be the very thing that saves you too.